All right, everyone, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us this evening. And tonight we have a wonderful guest speaker that agreed to join us, Elise Ketch. And so we'll be hearing from Elise in just a moment. I did want to mention, and I'll share my screen real quick, Leroy Carhart passed away Friday, and some folks might know about him and some people might not. He was a late-term abortionist, and I have a personal connection because I'm here in Wichita, Kansas, and he did late-term abortions here for several years with George Tiller, and quite a checkered past, of course. So I didn't want to talk too much about him, but there's, of course, numerous of his victims, little children that died. We don't know their names, but 2 women that died under his care or lack thereof here. And so I just want to just take a brief couple minutes to share that. If you remember back, this is from Operation Rescue. They're located here as well. They're just one source, of course. Live Action, a lot of other good folks do a lot of good reporting on abortion-related topics. So, but Ann Reed and Operation Rescue are here locally as well, so they know a lot of the background of Leroy. And yeah, this was one of his, ironically, I believe this was his birthday party, and even on his worst day, he's killing. And he killed a lot of babies and some women too. 2 of them, Kristen Gilbert and Jennifer Murbelli. Kristen Gilbert was a person that had Down syndrome and was brought here by her parents and ended up dying here. And it's pretty shocking. I won't go into all the details, but essentially they had the patients deliver their dead babies in a hotel room. And so that caused a lot of problems and obviously some deaths, because it should have been, assuming you're going to kill someone, that this would have to be done in a hospital so that more people wouldn't die. So I'll put a link to this particular article, and you can do some more research, but I did want to mention a couple of his victims that we know the names of. So, all right. And with that, I'll stop sharing my screen and we'll get started here. All right. Tonight we have Elise Ketch with the Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising. And I asked Elise to share what your organization's about. We had some feedback from some folks in our group that said, hey, we'd like to have some guest speakers. And I said, well, Elise was the first person I thought of, so here we are. So Elise, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, and we'll be happy to take questions in a little bit after you're done with your presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Elise Ketch, and I am the content creator for the Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising. I'm also an RPLA member, I would say, and I'm bisexual, just in case any of you are asking. So the Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising, known as POW, was founded by Teresa Bukovac and Lauren Handy, who is also an RPLA member. And Teresa's like, we call her our queen. She's a straight ally, but she's our queen. They formed this group to have space in the pro-life movement for specifically progressives and leftists. So it's a leftist coalition, but we do have members from pretty much across the political spectrum, because leftists can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. So, but it's basically, we share these core tenets and values of nonviolence, non-discrimination, and equality. Those are our guiding principles. And then we've got some stances that go beyond that, like we are pro-trans, we are pro-LGBT, we are pro-Black, we are Black Lives Matter, we are anti-carceral, And we generally look at things through a leftist economic lens, a progressive economic lens. So we're also anti-capitalist and feminist. That's the basics. And I just wanted to show you a little intro video that was made during when the whole group kind of started. So I'll share my screen and show you that.
Great.
I think a lot of people in the pro-life movement, and especially our corner of the pro-life movement, find each other through social media. We see some weird looking progressive person that seems like us, and we see that sign and we want to follow them on Instagram immediately. And so I think me and Teresa actually got connected on Facebook, but from there we started showing up at the same events. We went to the Humanize conferences, the National March for Life, events in San Francisco, events in Pittsburgh, pretty much all over, and now we end up collaborating pretty much every chance we get.
When I was in high school, I was very pro-abortion. I had a horrible experience that I really had to question the value of life. It wasn't until that moment that I'd actually researched what an abortion was. I realized how gruesome it was and how it would take their dignity, it would take an integral piece of their humanity, and I couldn't participate in that. And ever since then, I can't walk away from the pro-life movement. I think that POW is only going to take what I imagine the pro-life movement to be and send it to like 100%. It's just going to make the pro-life movement what I've always imagined it's supposed to be.
When I heard that she was starting a progressive pro-life organization, I was so excited. That's what I call myself, and I've always felt like I was kind of like alone in that. So when I heard that there was going to be an entire group of people that held these world views, I was just over the moon jazzed about it.
I am really excited about the launch of POW, the Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising, because I think in this movement, we need everyone on board. And so this isn't just a conservative issue or a Christian issue. We need everyone. And so that's why the Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising is so exciting, because it's saying that you don't need to be one type of pro-life person to find your place in this movement. Everyone is welcome, and everyone needs to be standing for the rights of the unborn.
The audio has cut out for me. I'm not sure if I'm the only one.
I can try it again. We'll just start and restart.
I'm also still not getting any audio.
No.
Well, Teresa is shouting about being progressive. Should I try to stop sharing and then restart sharing maybe?
Okay, yeah.
Let's do that. And then if it doesn't work again, I'll just go on to something else.
Yeah, it worked great till that second part of the video.
All right. That's a good part of the video. I don't want you to miss it. Is the sound there now?
No.
Not really.
Not really.
If you want to narrate, that's fine. Or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, Teresa, again, it's just Teresa basically shouting about being progressive. There's not really much to narrate.
Oh, okay, okay.
But yeah, if you want to, I can send the YouTube link and then you can watch it on your own time.
Please do.
Yeah, I'll do that really quickly. Coming into the chat right now. Here we go, right in the chat. So feel free to watch that in your own time. I'm gonna try to show you an Instagram video and see if there's any audio on that. And if not, again, I'll just move on.
Okay.
Okay, let's do that. Sharing screen. Up.
Of activism of the Progressive Anti-Abortion
Can you hear that?
Yes.
We're a group of leftists who are against abortion through the lens of anti-capitalism. We're comprised of communists, Marxists, socialists, Democrats, social liberalism. We believe changing the material conditions that cause unexpected or crisis pregnancies can reduce abortion. I'm a full-time sidewalk counselor. A sidewalk counselor is a person who stands in front of abortion businesses and offers resources to pregnant people who go inside. And I've helped over 800 families choose life across the country. I had people coming in who were going in for abortions and they believed it was either murder, wrong, or they didn't want it. And so I thought to myself, I hear people who think it's wrong and are still getting abortions. Why? Because they don't have the material conditions or the resources needed to continue their pregnancy. And so I think affordable housing, universal income, I think what you would consider like leftist policies, I believe can create a culture of life.
We live in a society today that is very argumentative that being pro-life is a partisan issue. Smashing that narrative a bit, doing what you do, what message do you have for people?
We believe in uniting with anybody who shares the common goal of ending abortion in all 50 states, because it's going to take all of us. And I believe even people on the right have the unique gifts, abilities, and wisdom that we need to be able to end abortion. I'm a progressive Catholic.
All right, so that's that. There we go. Cool. So this year we have, I guess, 3 main goals. We are bringing more leftists into the movement. We are bringing back direct action, specifically anti-abortion rescue, sort of Operation Rescue style, but Red Rose Rescue style. And we're also making pro-life sexy again. That's what we declared. And in general, we've got some projects going on. We are pursuing justice for the 5 because you may remember last year, Teresa and Lauren found a box of 115 children dead, aborted on the sidewalk. And when they opened the box, they discovered 5 of them were later abortion victims, possibly partial birth abortion victims or born alive abortion victims. So basically just infanticide, and there still has not been justice for them. The police haven't even performed an autopsy on these children. So we're pursuing that in the Capitol. We are lobbying in the Capitol in DC to get legislators to push for that to be investigated by Congress. We're also pushing to overturn the FACE Act. So the FACE Act is the free access to clinic entrances. And it's basically the way that they shut down Operation Rescue in the 90s by making it a felony and a federal crime to block an abortion clinic entrance, as well as to block a few other things, but it's really only applied to abortion clinic entrances. So we're trying to overturn that because it's just, a violation of freedom of speech at the end of the day and freedom of assembly, because it's targeted only at pro-life protesters in pro-life protest. So there's a good push for that going on. And then in general, just again, pushing the anti-abortion agenda. We're going for a viability ban, trying to get a national ban on abortion at viability. But we're also we started Stop Abortion RX, which was the big campaign that did the Walgreens challenge and all those protests back in February across different CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aids. Because we're very against, mifepristone even being on the market. So we've also been out recently at the Supreme Court saying, do your job, take away the FDA approval of mifepristone. It killed 28 women and it never went through a proper approval process. So this is just literally bad procedure. It should not be approved, in hopes that we can, save more children. So we, like it said in the video, I don't know if you heard, it said we collaborate with everybody. We know that other progressive groups have failed in the pro-life movement because they refused to collaborate, because if we had one little difference, we didn't want to be associated. We are okay with differences. We are here for tolerance. There are certain things we don't tolerate. We don't tolerate white supremacy. We don't tolerate anti-Semitism. We don't tolerate violence. So as long as you don't cross any of those, I think, very reasonable boundaries, we are willing to work with you. So that's an overview. Do we want to get into questions or do I need to talk a little more?
No, we can get into questions. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just, well, if you don't mind, everyone, I'll just do this because I always love to introduce everybody because there's always some new folks. And so I'm just go around the room and just, if you could just tell us just a real brief who you are and a little bit about yourself. And then if you have a question for Elise, then you go ahead and ask it. Okay. So if you don't mind, I'll start with Anna, our newest board member. Go ahead, Anna.
Oh dear, I'm on the spot. My name's Anna. I use they, them pronouns. But yeah, I don't really know. I live in San Francisco and I forgot the bulk of what I was supposed to talk about just now. Just like an introduction, right?
Yeah, just who you are.
Yeah.
If you have any questions for Elise, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so introduction wise, I have 3 feline children. They're very annoying, but they're cool. And I just do like activism most of the time and then work at a vegan restaurant. So that's my life. Anyways, I don't know that I have many questions, although I'm pretty familiar with PAL, so might not be a good, I don't know. It'd be hard to think of what would be a question that wouldn't be like something else. So I'll pass on the question for
That's
now.
okay.
Maybe I'll come back.
Okay, that's fine. Yep.
Yeah, to fill everybody else in, Anna, Herb, and Kane are all in the organizer group chat for Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising, so they're in the loop.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Abby. Looks we have an Abby and an Abigail, so I'll start with Abby.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. My name's Abby. I go by she, her pronouns. I'm straight, asexual. I am kind of new to considering myself a leftist. I've always been pro-life. And I was introduced to POW through Equal Rights Institute, actually. I've been following them for a long time. They do really good work. So, yeah, I don't know if I have any questions. I've followed POW since the Justice for the 5 campaign last year.
All right. Well, welcome, Abby. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Herb, you already know about PAL, but if you're introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm here. I also have Kane here. My name's Herb. I am the executive director of Rehumanize International. I'm also on the board of Rainbow Pro-Life Alliance and on the board of the Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising. I don't know if I have any questions for Elise. Elise, I do, after we all go around, I'd like for you to talk a little bit more about your take on personhood. I think you do a lot of good, we talked about this at the last meeting too, but I think you do a lot of good advocacy on specifically that question, which I think PAL doesn't do so much. They kind of just do through you. But I'd like to hear you kind of make your case for personhood, because I think people in here know that I make a case against personhood, and I like hearing your take too.
I like your case against personhood. I more or less agree with it. So
That's how I feel about your case for personhood.
All right, Elise, so take some notes. We're gonna have you talk about personhood some more. Okay, and Herb, Kane, go ahead.
Wait, am I muted?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Kane. I am on the board of Rainbow Pro-Life Alliance. I volunteer with Rehumanize. I've helped out with the Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising before as well. And I am a law student that will hopefully be graduated as of 2 weeks from now. So it seems like it's all gonna work out. So that's a little bit about me.
Oh, and we're vegan. Look, I'm eating vegetables.
Yeah, we're vegan. And we're also engaged. But yeah, I think that's everything I have. I don't have any specific questions for Elise, but I also like the personhood argument. So
All right, and for a preview, Kane, our friend Kane, who's you're gonna be a lawyer, right? In 2 weeks, is that right?
well, so I'll be graduating within 2 weeks and studying basically full-time for the bar exam until late
Right.
July. And in early October, I should find out that I am an actual lawyer, ideally. Oh, I also got a job offer, which is exciting as well. So
Wow. Okay. Well, our friend Kane, I asked Kane to, in June for our first anniversary of the Dobbs decision, to go with us through some legal analysis of just for practice, for your bar exam. So we get to all experiment your our guinea pig, right? So if that's allowed in this group, I don't know, but
I also have just written a like 20-page paper on the FACE Act for one of my classes this semester, particularly as it relates to, you know, how Dobbs might change that, like its constitutionality and everything. So
We can talk about that
we
in
can talk
June,
about that
so.
as well in June. I'll throw that in.
awesome. And for our May meeting, which is I'm jumping ahead of ourselves here a little bit, but May, I'm gonna ask Herb to talk to us about Rehumanize. So we're making the rounds. And before I forget, because I love POW, I'm getting to know POW better. And I just want everyone to know that we are a diverse political spectrum. So some of our members, I guess you'd say, are kind of right-wing nuts. I'm being nice about that. And some are left-wing nuts, okay? We have and people in between. So just to put that out there so you know that don't feel disenfranchised because someone is way on the other side of the political spectrum. We're all pro-life here, and that's what's important to us. Herb, did you have something to add?
Oh yeah, another fun fact about me, because Elise mentioned the FACE Act, and we've been talking about that a little. I am also one of the 20-something Americans currently charged by the Department of Justice under the FACE Act. I'm facing up to 11 years in federal prison for nonviolent, peaceful pro-life activism. We can talk. I'm sure we'll talk about more in the May meeting. But that's another fun fact about me.
Thank you. Yes, fun facts would be helpful. So if you've got something interesting going on with the DOJ, let us know. Whatever you're doing. Okay. Next, Abigail.
Hi, my name is Abigail. I think some of y'all might recognize me now that you see my face, but hi guys. I do like a lot of activism on TikTok, so fun fact about me. And Jason invited me onto this meeting just because I'm trying to do some in-person like activism at maybe like a local pride event upcoming this June. And so he just invited me here to meet more people and talk.
But where do you live, Abigail?
I'm in Dallas.
Right, I knew that. Okay, cool.
Yes, thank you for joining us, Abigail. And yes, and board members, perk your ears up here for a moment, because yes, Abigail is wanting to work with maybe Pride or some other event coming up in the DFW area. So I definitely want us to be able to provide some resources, stickers, flyers, so forth, to help Abby with that. Okay, so just FYI. Okay, thanks for joining us, Abigail.
Of course.
Next up is our friend Bill, Island Dreamer. Bill. I don't know if you can hear us. Can you hear us, Bill? Are you on mute still?
I think he can hear us, it seems like, but he's having trouble unmuting.
Sorry.
Oh, there you go. Now we can hear you, Bill.
I'm sorry. And I'm actually trying to do work at the same time. So I was just going through my work computer to over here. So it was just at the end of discussion of the implications of the FACE Act when I kind of zoned out.
Oh, we're just introducing ourselves. If you have any questions
okay.
for POW.
Sorry to be getting ready for work on a Monday, but my name's Bill Crow. I've been the bookkeeper, running the books and making reports on the financial status every year of the organization, and also making the necessary 990 filings with the IRS for our status as a not-for-profit organization, and have been with the organization for about 3 decades.
All right, thank you, Bill. So as Elise was mentioning, making the pro-life movement more sexy, we also have to do grunge work like filing tax forms, and our friend Bill definitely helps with the not so sexy work, and we appreciate that. Thank you, Bill, for joining us.
Thank you, Bill.
Let's see, Elizabeth.
My name is Elizabeth. I'm currently in Austin, Texas, and I have also spent part of the year in Juneau, Alaska. And I've been educating myself about pro-life apologetics, following some organizations for a few years. And then over the past year, I started actually getting involved in things. I've done a couple campus outreaches now with Justice for All and found that really meaningful. So I'm gonna continue to expand that muscle and get some more conversations under my belt. I'm not progressive, but I admire the heck out of POW. And the good thing about living in the San Francisco Bay Area for several years is that it connected me with Pro-Life San Francisco, which I still donate to every month. And that's how I learned about Teresa and how I learned about POW. So yeah, I think the direct activism piece that a lot of conservatives are a little too polite to do is so important. So thanks.
Thanks for joining us. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, about my only question really was about like what exactly POW is doing with the FACE Act, because that's pretty exciting, but it looks like there will be more updates, excuse me, updates on that.
Yeah, noted. You're on my checklist.
All right. Thanks for joining us again, Elizabeth. Ed?
Good evening, everyone. This is my second time I think I've come to a Zoom meeting. I just like listening to all these. I'm obviously much older than everyone on the screen in front of me. I like listening to these progressive movements or these pro-life movements. I'm on the fence for pro-life. I'm sorry. I always consider myself pro-life, but I'm very confused now with everything. But the video, this POW, might be mispronounced, is very interesting. On the video, there was the woman who said she hands out pamphlets and that kind of thing and information to people who probably need housing or information, and and that deters abortions because some people have them simply because they can't afford to have a baby, I believe. Where does she do that? Are you only based in DC? I live in Florida. That's the kind of thing I could see myself getting involved in, handing out information. I personally would never block an entrance to a clinic if that's somebody's right. We want rights for everybody. That's where I'm on the fence stuff, but I would love to hand out information, maybe, and help change a mind. But
for legal purposes, I'm going to say we do not block clinic entrances. We go in and we cross property lines at best. And then usually when we're told we're trespassing, we then leave. Okay. But that's called a rescue. That's a little more pushy than what you were talking about, which is sidewalk counseling. And we do that at the Planned Parenthood in Washington, D.C. in the north of Massachusetts neighborhood, which is known as NOMA. It's in Northeast DC, and it's a notorious Planned Parenthood. So we're out there all the time. We try to do at least 2 hours every week, usually on like a Friday or a Saturday, and just go out there and try to help women before they go in and also as they come out. So we do a lot of abortion pill reversal flyers. We help women if it seems they've been injured. We also give them, we have actually a new pamphlet pouch designed that you can give out at your local abortuary, even if they're not performing abortions anymore, because part of the issue is that all these Planned Parenthoods that are still open in states where abortion is now illegal, they're basically acting as travel agencies. So they book flights and hotels for women to go to other places in other states. So it's still really good to be out there and to catch the women early, because by the time that they've booked a flight and they've booked a hotel, they're committed. So you want to get them while they're still in their ambiguous stage where they're like, I could change my mind. So it's something good to do. Here, give me 0.5 seconds. I'm going to grab the flyer to show you.
I mean, that sounds very interesting, that kind of work. Does anyone know of any organization in Florida that does similar activities?
It's
not in Florida, but I do know Equal Rights Institute has what's supposed to be a very, very strong class on the subject that you can take online.
Equal Rights?
Equal Rights Institute. I'll put their link in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Abby.
I'd also recommend just looking into Sidewalk Advocates for Life, National Sidewalk Advocates for Life. They have chapters in like every tiny city. There's some places that are not represented, but it's likely that they already have a chapter. Also, 40 Days for Life doesn't strictly just do sidewalk advocacy, but you can sometimes find people from there who are interested in doing it.
Okay.
And also I posted in the chat some resources from Rehumanize for secular sidewalk outreach info.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, this is what our flyer looks like. It's that POW just designed a couple months ago. We're selling them online in our store. So if you go to PAAUnow.org, they've got these on sale. So you can order a bunch and do your own sidewalk advocacy because it's really not dangerous. I've got horror stories, but they're rare, you know, they're far and few between. So usually it's just people rejecting you and like going peh. So whatever. People are going to be pet about it, but you just got to be out there and be, what did they call it? A welcoming presence, be a good presence for women to see, because believe it or not, lots of women have reported that after their abortions, they actually felt a lot of comfort seeing someone out there who was trying to advocate for them. So it's just important to be out there.
Right. Okay, thank you all. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and we've heard that, at least I have, numerous times, that someone that's post-abortive saying there was nobody out there. If somebody was, I don't think I'd be where I'm at today. That's really hard to hear. So it's
Gotta be
important
out
work.
there.
Yeah. Thank you. Next, Hayden.
Hey y'all, my name's Hayden. I've been doing a lot of work here in South Carolina. I work with I'm on the board of Rainbow Pro-Life Alliance, and I work with Democrats for Life and Students for Life. And as Elise noted in the chat, I am your local source for all things pro-life legislation news.
POW. Sorry, I forgot you.
Say again?
You're a POW organizer.
Yes, POW organizers. I'm with probably just about everybody. So that's me. I kind of do everything if anybody needs anything. So yeah.
All right. Thank you, Hayden. And did I have anyone that I missed here? I think I got everybody. Okay. So, Elise, could you talk to us about, because I'm interested in this too, your take on personhood?
Sure. Do we want to do that or the FACE Act first?
Oh, let's do personhood, and then you can do face as well.
Okay. Well, personhood isn't really a POW thing. That's an Elise thing. So I'm a big philosophy nerd. These are some of my fun facts. And I write for Secular Pro-Life on occasion. I'm in their philosophers group chat where we just nerd out on talking about fetal personhood, why it matters, theories of it, and how to overcome bad theories about it from the other side. Like Herb said, there is a case that personhood should just be abolished, and I was a big fan of that, and I am still a big fan of that. My tag on Instagram and Twitter and also TikTok is anti-personhood because of that theory that like really personhood should just be abolished. It's just like ultimately being weaponized and it's not useful and we should get rid of it. And I'm really sympathetic to that argument. I really like it, but I've started to see personhood as also a tool to rehumanize the unborn, at least on an intellectual level. Ultimately, I think rescue is what rehumanizes the unborn on a gut level, an instinctual level, but that's for maybe later in the discussion. Maybe after the FACE Act, we can talk about that. But yeah, so I have some theories about why the unborn are people and what makes us people. The short version of it is that we're all in a metaphysical process that it's shared across our lifespan and across humanity, and any being in that metaphysical process is a person. But that is a little species specific, and I don't really want to be that. I don't want to be speciesist. So my personal definition is if you have some sort of natural, inherent capacity to have a kinship bond with humans, then that being is a person. So that could be dolphins, maybe octopi, that could be definitely gorillas, I think is one of them. So very intelligent animals, maybe pigs. And they should be treated as people and have at least some basic rights recognized. And then that could also be attributed to like a spirit. That could be God, if you believe in that. That could be aliens. If there's an intelligent life form out there that we see as people, it's because we have a sense of kinship with them ultimately. So at the end of the day, personhood is a relationship with another being where you respect them as equal to yourself. And it's really an intuitive relationship. So it's an externally defined thing. But in the case of the unborn, because it's so hard to understand that there is a process that links the embryo to the adult they'll one day be. Because of that, we also have to argue for intrinsic personhood and human dignity, essentially saying that human dignity starts at conception. And this process of being a person starts at conception, because ultimately, this is a theory from Kristina Artukovic in Serbia. She's really cool. I like your expansive definition too, Anna. It's a little more expansive than mine, but there's an ultimate sortal that every human being has. And an ultimate sortal is the idea that everything that makes you a person, everything that you love about your life and that is in the experience of being a person, you have an inherent relation to it by either actively attaining it, retaining it, or reattaining it. So you're either in the process of getting to that point and getting to the point where you've accessed your ultimate sortal, or you're already accessing it, or you accessed it before and now you're trying to get back to a point where you can access it again. So accessing it would be basically the unborn. Once you reach a point where you've got like a recognizable personhood, like something that's very intuitive and other people see you as people on the spot, you're probably already in the attainment process or in the retainment process is what I mean. You're already retaining whatever access you have to your ultimate sortal and maybe getting further into it. So that's just like a very normative state that's like you're able-bodied, you're healthy, you're not experiencing lapses in consciousness or lucidity or anything. So that's just like, if you're at your peak, if you are in your quintessential human form, you're in retainment mode. Then there's reattainment mode, which is like you've gone into a coma. You're asleep, actually, is one of them. That's a common one. You are like in a vegetative state, any state where you could come back to like consciousness and acting like a person or whatever. That's reattainment mode, and part of that process. So as long as you have some inherent capability of healing or reattaining whatever person-like capabilities you had before, that also qualifies you as a person. So we don't take vegetative people out. I'm a consistent life ethic person, so I'm against euthanasia, I'm against assisted suicide. So that means that disabled people who don't have certain aspects of your ultimate sortal, like consciousness, aren't taken out of the personhood equation. They still have equal rights and the right to not be killed. So that kind of encompasses the whole life cycle, in my opinion. That, again, that's Kristina Artukovic's theory, and I think it's really good. So the key phrase to remember there is people are attaining, retaining, reattaining personhood. So as long as you have one of those active processes going on, you're a person. Yeah, and you can call it first, second order capacities. It's very much in alignment with what Equal Rights Institute has already said, but they're looking at capacities kind of as states of being. They're very static, where yeah, you can have these things, you can have capabilities that aren't, or you can have capacities that are latent, but they're not being manifested as capabilities. So that's like, I have the latent capacity to be an NBA star, but I'm not. I don't have the capability to be an NBA star. But so do embryos. Embryos also have that latent capacity that could eventually be a capability, but they also have some very basic latent capacities like consciousness that could become capabilities. And so that latent capacity is what you would call higher order. And then there's the lower order ones that are then capabilities you gain later on. So there's a lot of different ways to look at personhood. I even just read an article today from Richard Stiff, who's really inspired me. And he says we should refer to embryos as individuals and as friends, and we should refer to them, yeah, first and foremost as people, and say that individuals are indivisible. You cannot divide an embryo from like their being and their personhood. They're already a whole organism that's also a whole person. And I really liked that. So there's a lot going on in the personhood thing. But again, the key phrase, attainment, retainment, reattainment. And if you want the short phrase I used at the beginning, it's we're in the same metaphysical process of personhood as everybody else, and embryos are too. So sorry, that was a lot of word vomit at once.
That's all right. I followed about 23% of it. I'm gonna have to go back and watch this, but thank you for that. That was very enlightening, and I'm gonna learn a lot as I look at this again. I did want to mention last time I was able to table for our organization the #1 flyer that people, and this was at a private event here in Wichita, what surprised me, because we have this flyer this is from our Kansas for Life office here. It shouldn't happen to a dog. And it was this little puppy, and all this other information that I thought was interesting to me, like fetal development and just a lot of other facts of the matter, they'd gravitate towards it shouldn't happen to a dog. And so we're talking about speciesism or whatever. It might be a good idea to contact some people via something they, if I dare say, care about. Like people, a lot of, I'd say, well, I'm not gonna give you a percentage, but there's a group of people that don't relate well towards other human beings, but relate terribly well to their cat or their dog or something like that. So they always gravitate for that flyer. Of course, that flyer, once you open it up, then it shows, it's very graphic about aborted babies. And so then they're like, oh, but it brings them in because if we're talking about a nonviolent movement, which is what PAL's all about, and to think, wait a second, if this happened to a cat or a dog, would I be all right with that? You know, and then to see the violence that's happening to the unborn, trying to make that connection, it seemed to have some impact. Was my intake. Do you want to talk? Go ahead.
I think ultimately we have to have the same humanity and the humaneness towards unborn people that we have towards animals. So I'm very much a proponent of like animal welfare and treating animals right. Animal cruelty is wrong. You know, factory farms shouldn't be a thing, all that jazz.
Okay. Did you want to talk about FACE a little more?
Yeah, FACE. So that's again the freedom of entrances to, or access to clinic entrances. And what we're doing in Congress right now, we've got Chip Roy's assistant. He's like a big nerd too, and he's really studied the FACE Act and its implications. And he's like, you know, ultimately, like the vast majority of cases of people being indicted under the FACE Act and committed under the FACE Act have been pro-lifers. There's a very small percentage, like 2 people. There's like 2 people that have been indicted under the pro-abortion side for like targeting a PRC, you know, a pregnancy resource center, or a church. So because churches are also included in that act for reasons that are historical and not so much logical. So ultimately it's not being applied evenly, and that's his case. He has the data to say it, and he's like, we're going to build a coalition of conservative legislators who are going to push to have this overturned. So that's a very exciting movement. When we last lobbied during the Just for the 5 Action Week, and we went from like, you know, from place to place, from office to office, we kept hearing them talking about this particular Congress aide who is pushing for this and making this coalition actually happen. It was very exciting to hear people that had like already heard about it. So he's really doing the work. He's doing the legwork there. We just got it started. We just pushed for it to happen, and he's like, yeah, let's make it happen. So it's happening. And then Lauren Handy's hearing is on the 25th, I think. And that was just filed to have a briefing about, is the FACE Act even legitimate? So some of her lawyers, who are from Thomas More Society, I believe, her lawyer filed a brief saying all the reasons that the FACE Act, you know, is not legitimate because the Supreme Court found there has never been a right to abortion in the Constitution. Not even like there's a retroactive right. It was never there in the first place. So it should have never been. The FACE Act, the premise of the FACE Act being it's protecting a right, isn't even there. So we're hoping that the federal judge is going to be open to that. It seems like she's very logical and will be begrudgingly. She also mentioned, oh, but I think maybe we could ground the FACE Act in the 13th Amendment or something, and that's ridiculous anyhow. But basically saying that, yeah, there's no right to abortion, so there can't be a FACE Act because ultimately Congress can only regulate interstate commerce. The federal government can only regulate interstate commerce, and abortion is not interstate commerce. The government is going to try to argue they are, which I'm interested about, that the federal government is going to argue no, abortion is interstate commerce, but we're arguing the opposite and saying, you know, this should just be a local crime. This should be trespassing. This should be vandalism. This should not be a federal felony. Let's get Herb's take on that, because Herb also knows a little more than me.
Herb?
Sorry, this is
Kane's the one
Kane.
who knows more.
Kane, go
Sorry.
Kane.
Victim. I don't know anything.
So
One of them.
As
I
you
want to
can
hear
tell,
Kane's take, please.
I've followed this case like a crazy person. Elise is right. However, I do want to say, interestingly, the government chose in its response to the judge's instruction for briefing on these issues not to address the legitimacy of the FACE Act under any, under any circumstances besides just the Commerce Clause prior to Dobbs. They were really dismissive. They didn't answer the judge's questions, and they were just like, this is good law. You don't even need to decide these issues, and submitted the brief, which means that potentially the judge could be very mad about that. At least I hope she is.
That's very lazy. What the heck?
Yeah, and so hopefully on the
when you look at their brief, the judge requested briefs about the constitutionality of FACE, and also she suspended the typical word limit that you're restricted to, which I'm interpreting as she's genuinely considering these arguments. And when you look at it, like the government's brief is like 3 pages not answering her questions, and then Martin's brief, which is Lauren's attorney, is like 30 pages and uses all of this, like there's like 14 exhibits of different like congressional like records and stuff, and then my attorney also filed like a couple pages to back up from our perspective as well, where he added some stuff. So it could be good. The whole case could get thrown out, and I might only have like 1 more month of saying I'm facing 11 years in prison, but I will also find out probably on May 25th how my case is going.
Yeah, and so I wouldn't get our hopes up, but I would stay cautiously optimistic. The judge could just be looking to expand abortion rights. But I think if she does that, this pushes the case to the Supreme Court faster than it would otherwise. Or she could be throwing out the charge that makes it 11 years and just keeping FACE, which would make it like 1 year.
And from a totally cynical perspective, if that does happen and it is pushed to the Supreme Court and then into a national spotlight, 2 of the defendants identify as LGBT pro-lifers. And so it's going to be a great opportunity to put Rainbow Pro-Life Alliance on the map.
So, yeah.
Either way, we win, right? Great. Yeah, and from a different perspective, I remember I was part of the Summer of Mercy here in Wichita, and this was, I think, was part of the, Operation Rescue, and what happened here was part of the inspiration to have FACE Act, because what we had done, not our groups here, but back in 1991, the local Operation Rescue had blocked the clinic of George Tiller for 48 hours, all night long. We had people waiting in their cars, acting like they were getting their abortion so that they could keep arresting our people. But they were arrested for the crimes that they committed, which was trespassing or loitering. And so what they would do would they get arrested, they'd pay the fine or get released, and they'd be back out there and join the crowd again. So we had an interesting situation here, and that's it was such an interesting, wonderful movement that happened here from different political perspectives and different groups coming together to make that happen. So they had to kill that off as quickly as possible. So that's definitely part of the reason why once space was put in place, then it killed off a lot of the rescue movement for what it was at the time. So, and any of our civil libertarians, gosh, I hope they can come to our side like they would back in the day, to realize, the crime has to fit. I mean, the punishment has to fit the crime. And if you're loitering, you're loitering. If you're trespassing, you're trespassing. But making it a federal offense is really ridiculous in this case. And they cut all the way around any other groups. So they didn't want to affect the labor unions, as they shouldn't, or other groups that would be doing similar activism. So that's what I think on its face makes it unconstitutional, even before Dobbs, is because it only affected, really, it was clinic entrances. You can't, they cut around everything else so that their groups that they liked, as far as the liberals, would be protected from any sort of anything other than loitering and trespassing. So
yeah, and so for June, I can definitely include part of the FACE Act and its history and its past enforcement, because it's fresh on my mind. I've got all the citations and stuff as well. So if people are interested, I can include that with the Dobbs discussion.
I love it. Yes. So let's do that. All right. Let's see. Some final questions? I've had a lot to chew on here if you haven't had your dinner yet. Any other questions from the group for Elise tonight, this afternoon?
Where are you guys at funding wise? Like if we were donating to you, what would be like the immediate needs that it would go to?
It first and foremost goes towards keeping the activists alive. So we've got 4 full-time staff members. 3 of them live in this apartment. So that's me, Lauren, Caroline. And then Teresa lives in her own apartment across town. So that keeps us in DC, that keeps us lobbying here, that keeps us making trouble here, that, the political lawmakers can see. So literally it's helping us pay for like food.
And also sidewalk advocacy.
And also sidewalk advocacy. It's going towards materials for that as well. Yeah, so all of that. But then otherwise it's going towards our immediate projects. So making flyers for like Justice for the 5, or paying for the website for the FACE Act. We're calling it we're just doing RPLAApril30, I think is what we're going to call it. So just start spreading the word that the FACE Act needs to go. It's not helpful. It doesn't protect our pregnancy resource centers. You can also, it's a terrible tag, but it's a kind of a joke. We're using the hashtag fuckface. So you can say that if you want, or just hashtag RepealFace. That's really helpful and would help us in our activism if you just help to spread the word on social media about it. And then also our campaign to stop abortion RX. So it's going towards our immediate direct actions, and then also literally the well-being of our activists.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good questions. What else? This is your time to interrogate Powell. Who else wants to ask a good question or a bad question? Whatever you want to ask.
Yeah. I feel like I could ask a question. What like draws you, I guess you as an individual and or Powell, however you want to answer it, but what draws you to like DC, particularly like in the post-Roe world? Like what particularly attracts you to the DC area, I guess is a good question. I probably already know the answer, but
yeah. My joke answer is spiritual warfare, but my actual answer is it's really the proximity towards what's happening on the national level, being able to directly interact with the lawmakers on the national level has been indispensable. Like, I don't know if you guys saw Anna Paulina Luna, representative. She's super conservative in Florida, but she was very into the Justice for the 5, and she like did basically political activism and brought pictures of the 5 into hearings where it kind of was not related, but was like, actually, it should be related. You know what? We should talk about this, which was very cool, very hot, very sexy. Like I said, making pro-life sexy again. So it's also our proximity towards the big media, towards legacy media, like literally 2 blocks from the activist house is NPR's main building. So we are, and also CBS, is that it? No, CNN. CNN's like 5 blocks from here. So we're so close to the legacy media. They see us doing things here. So it's good news coverage.
Wow. I had a question. You mentioned viability as something we'd like to get past at the federal level. And I know just from listening to the media that it seems like a lot of pro-life groups are kind of coalescing around maybe a 15-week national ban. So it kind of, I guess, kind of in reference to what, the specific case in Dobbs was actually specifically about. So yeah, what I know, I'd like to hear from you or from anyone else in the group. We're kind of grappling with, I know Ann Coulter, speaking of the other side of the political spectrum, had an article about, that we're going too extreme. And if we try to ban all abortions, then we're going to lose nationally, and then we're going to kill more babies. So that's her take in a nutshell. But so what's your perspective, or I might even tag other people here, as far as, states are doing all kinds of different things. We've had some horrible losses in Nebraska and South Carolina recently. Kansas, we had some little kind of important wins this last week, which I'm so happy about, but it's so much different dynamics. But at a federal level, you mentioned viability. What else do you think, a 15-week ban, or what else are you guys thinking about?
I'd love a 15-week ban. I'd support it if it was coming. But I do see it as something that would make like the Conservative Party very, it would make it harder in the voting area. But preborn people are not pawns for politics, so I don't really care. Also, I'm progressive, so I really don't care. We want a national ban at viability because that would put us in line with almost every other country in the world. There's only like 5 other nations that allow abortions past like 24 weeks. And it's crazy that we are one of them. We are like one of 6. So let's get back in line with the other, like, I guess, I don't even remember how many there are, 190, something like that. And I think it's very reasonable. I think at that stage, people know it's a baby. It's very hard to deny the personhood of a baby at like 24 weeks. But if we could get as early as 15, I mean, Europe is mostly 12, like flat, mostly first trimester. So I think that's very reasonable. And obviously, I'm not going to campaign against that.
Okay. Yeah. I know with viability, we talked a bit about this in prior meetings, but I think their viability arguments fall apart, at least at viability, because the way they do the abortion is very similar. It's labor and delivery. It's just they do an extra step to kill a baby beforehand or not. So, and in terms of the risk to the life of the mother, it's usually greater after about 15 weeks or so. It's safer for you to go ahead and have the baby alive than it is to try to kill that baby after viability for the mother physically. So I think we have a strong case. And but part of me is just like you, Elise. I don't care, but we try to save as many lives as we can. And the semantics of what week is just kind of goofy in my head, and when it comes down to it. So anybody else want to chime in on what they think should happen next federally, or any other questions for Elise?
I like what Anna said in the chat, that the heartbeat ban is the compromise. That's us being, I think that even in states that have heartbeat bans, abortions are still happening. Abortion pills, obviously, for one. And so I think that, but also the pre-heartbeat surgical abortions are also happening. And so I think that I share Elise's lack of concern about the viability of the Republican Party when viable babies are being killed. I think that again, it's the compromise. I think that abortion should be banned from conception on the federal level, and ideally that would happen through a constitutional amendment or a Supreme Court ruling and not be at the whim of Congress.
I like that. Who else?
I feel like there's just.
Go ahead. Sorry. Anna.
Well, I was just gonna say, I just feel like there's so many issues, like when it comes to like equality and fighting for like social justice in and of itself, like as an all-encompassing term. There's just so many issues that like I feel like until we're in a world that can respect life from the very moment of conception, there's just gonna be all these issues that don't go away. And I don't know which one's gonna happen first or second or third or whatever, but like there's so many things that need to change that like the fact that we're just not. That's why I feel so strongly that like as it being like from conception, because I'm sure most of us do anyways, but it's just like we need to respect the life from the very beginning, and that would extend towards so many social justice issues that we have today. And that's kind of like where I'm at. I don't know.
Yes, I agree.
I like that perspective. I really do. We're working to stop abortion, but we have an effect. All these issues are interconnected, I think, at least in terms of violence in our society and the way we operate. And so fixing one and working on others can help. It lifts all boats. I think that's we'll see, I guess, is the way to look at it at this point, but I think we're on the right track. All righty, we're about ready to wrap up unless anybody has any last comments. Great discussion.
I just wanted to say I'm currently getting dogpiled on Twitter for posting a video of an anencephalic fetus laughing. So if you want to go on there and support me, I'd appreciate it.
All right, we'll do that. Wow. All right. Well,
and if I can do a quick shout out, if anyone wants to go to the Animal Liberation Conference in Berkeley, California in like a month and a half, strong recommend. Even if you're not vegan, still strong recommend. That's all I'm saying.
Peter Singer's there, right?
What was that?
That's Peter Singer's thing?
Peter Singer might be there, maybe. I don't know. I gotta look. He's been there before, but I don't know if he's there this year.
Okay.
But yeah, he wrote a book, Animal Liberation, that I think it was around the same time the term was like kind of more mainstream. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, he's having a conference in DC that Teresa, our founder, is going to be at, because she's debating him at Princeton on personhood in the fall, which is going to be crazy. He's retiring this year from Princeton, so this is his final debate. And he was like, I want to have an atheist pro-lifer woman to debate. And they found Teresa. So she's preparing. She's very excited.
Wait, is this the guy that like is okay with assisted suicide, and like the disability community isn't a fan of him? Am I thinking of the same guy?
He's a fan of a lot of things people aren't a fan of. He's a fan of infanticide, like 4th trimester abortion. I'm not kidding. Like, he thinks you're not a person until like halfway through the first year. And so
Wait, really?
Yeah. Yeah, he's
but
really
he thinks that animals are people but not babies. I'm confused.
Well, he thinks baby animals aren't people either.
Okay. At least it's consistent, I guess.
Yeah.
You've heard of Inconsistent Life, right? It's a whole organization.
I love that.
Yeah. I knew of him first from his animal rights perspective, which I did appreciate. I didn't even know he was pro-choice until just now, so good to know.
There you go. Yeah.
It's hard to understand him once yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much, Elise, for joining us tonight. And I know you join us sometimes anyway at our meetings, so you're welcome. Of course, please join us again. And everyone else, please join us again. It was a great discussion. And we'll be back in May and have another great discussion. And of course, if you'd like to have any ideas about what we do next, then please let us know. And have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for the information. Good night.
Good night.
Hi, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.